So I'd like to start off just by sharing a little bit about this property that we've been looking at. I know that for some of you it was probably a little bit of a shock to hear that we were looking at something. To be honest, it was a little bit of a surprise for me as well. But I just want to talk a little bit about how that happened and kind of where we're at now with that, because I can understand that it could be, very interesting, also potentially kind of alarming. We've been here for a long time. But, it kind of started a couple of years ago when we had an incident in the park and our van got a couple bullet holes in it and ended up in the shop for a couple months. And there was a number of stressful things that were happening around that time that made me kind of wonder if I wanted to, continue to stay here at this location indefinitely. And I've gone through different phases. At times I'm like, yeah, it's a great location. It's up and coming. And, someday if we need more space, we can always just build onto the building, build a third story or, expand and all these things, which, is still a possibility for sure. But I had set a notification on my email to get, if any potential church properties or office buildings came on the market, that would be a good fit for us potentially in the future. And most of the time when I get notifications, it's not very interesting. It's a rundown, or it's like from the 1800s, or or too small for us, or too far away, or too expensive. And so I kind of just stopped even paying attention. But a couple weeks ago, I woke up to an email that this property was on the market. And yes, it was a bit big and everything, but it just seemed like there was certain aspects of it that really fit what could be a great potential new home for us. So I set up an appointment, and Adonia and I went and took a tour, and then we just really felt like, wow, this building has so much potential. Yes, it's a bit too big for us, but has so much room, so many rooms, that we could have a place to grow into in a really nice, quiet, safe neighborhood. And there was something about that was just kind of really appealing. We've had a number of incidents lately, even just this morning, stuff getting stolen from our church property, and just, things that people have to be afraid of and fearful of, it's been discouraging. That's, it's not enough by itself to move, but it's discouraging. And, I know that many of you, if you just come to church once or twice a week, you don't really see it. But, if you're around it a lot, or you come here at nighttime, you come early in the morning, you see stuff that everybody else doesn't see. But, even though we're not, so the reason that we ended up deciding not to get this building, obviously we're just not financially in the best situation too. But what it really came down to is that, I was so grateful. Actually, Namfan was there at the tour last week, and he has so much experience with property management and renting out office space and things. He did it for the entire national church for like 4.5 years. And, he actually was so insightful into how the property actually, even though it would be more expensive for us, actually could generate a surplus to actually support our work, not be a drain on our resources, which was kind of like the main concern. But then on top of that, we could potentially have a building to grow into. But the thing that really killed it is the debt. If we wanted to buy the building. So right now is the worst time to sell a commercial building in Denver. It's like the worst, just Denver. Because for a number of different reasons, but commercial properties have been going down in value for the last 2 years. It's kind of at the bottom of that curve right now. So our building was worth almost $3 million 2 years ago, and now it's worth less than $2 million. So that's a big difference. It's like a third value loss. So they're asking $3.8 million for this building, and it's overvalued according to what our realtor told us. So we could potentially meet in the middle, but the gap is just too big. We'd have to raise $1 million, or $500,000 if we sold the property in the Springs. And I have confidence that we could raise some money if we needed to, but that's a lot of money to commit to. And if we got a loan, that would be an extra, $5,000 to $10,000 a month that we'd have to make on payments. So any potential surplus we would get from the building would be canceled out. So it's just not a move that we can make right now. But maybe in the future, if our value goes back up and that value, if that church doesn't sell, it's possible. So if you were thinking about coming and maybe not thinking about it just because we're not going to get it right now, I'd still encourage you to come, to look at it, because it's all about getting a vision about what's possible for our community. And I'll be honest with you, in my opinion, vision is everything. Vision has so much power. Like what you see as being possible. What are you willing to fight for in your life? What is worth sacrificing for? What is worth getting out of bed in the morning? Not just getting out of bed because that's what you do, but something that excites you to get out of bed in the morning, something that draws you in as something that you're willing to do just about anything for. That's what I'm talking about. That's what Adoni and I felt when we looked at the building. We were like, there's so much potential. There's so many things that we can't do here. And we've done our best with this property. We're renovating it, and we've made creative space of the use of the space, but there's limits, and we can't change the neighborhood. So, we just felt so much potential, and we loved the idea that we could have a church in a neighborhood, and people will get excited to move close by. Here it's difficult. The crime is bad. It's very expensive. You don't get much for your money. But in that area, we just felt like, even though it's only 10 minutes away, felt so different.
This neighborhood is not difficult, and this neighborhood has changed.
Yes, I understand. The possibilities for financial growth, and also being a 3-acre property, we could potentially build on that property. We could build houses. We could build a dedicated Yami house. We could do a gym. We could build a gymnasium. Can't build a gymnasium here, not very easily. We'd have to lose our parking lot. Then what are we going to do? It's already too tiny. There was a house like 2 blocks away that had goats. So, if we ever wanted to have animals or a nice big garden, we could do that. So the possibilities were really exciting for us. So exciting that even though we just came back from our sabbatical and we were like, we don't need to be doing like crazy stuff for a while. Here we were, like considering a crazy change. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense for us right now. But who knows what the future will hold. One thing that came of all this is that one thing we became very clear about is that long term, our community is going to outgrow this property. Someday. It hasn't right now, but someday we're going to outgrow this property. So what are we going to do? There's lots of nice properties for sale if you go up to Brighton or Broomfield, or if you go down to Parker or Lone Tree or Highlands Ranch. But then we're like an hour and a half away from some people. And, what's going to come on the market at the right price at the right time, that's a good, suitable size for us, who can say? But I'd like to just keep our possibilities open and dream about what's possible for our community. And this whole experience has just been very eye-opening for me about what is possible for us. So we'll see. I do want to share, a few photos. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary here, and it's been a while. I tried to find some. We didn't take a lot of photos when we first moved here. I guess we were busy with other stuff. But here's some photos. This was one of our first Christmas parties. It was the first that we had. Yeah, that was nice. There were 3 kids at that time. I don't know how well you can see some of these pictures, depending on how far away you are. You might want to look at the back. But, a lot of kids were a lot younger back then. A lot of adults were a little bit younger, too. And, a lot of things have changed. 10 years is pretty significant. Let's see here. This was when Mrs. Yu came. One of the times she came. It's really nice. She gave us a lot of good internal guidance. And we had I think this was a going away party for somebody. For Nina. Oh, for Nina. Yeah, Ujiri. So, you can see some familiar faces and some people who aren't here anymore. And remember the cafe, the side chapel back then? changed a little bit. Yeah, different. Yeah. We forget, right? You get used to how things are now. This is the chapel. Remember, it was a big curtain over here, pews with the carpeting, upholstery, sorry. This was the park. That was the park. And then there was a kind of really beat up basketball court. And this was one of our first family camps where we could only fit around 24 people. Up in, this was at YMCA of the Rockies in Snow Mountain Ranch. And one of our first Halloween parties. David, do you still, oh, he's not here, is he? I wonder if he wore that costume for like 3 years. I kind of wonder if he still has it. Yeah. So, a lot of things have changed in 10 years, and the time has just gone by really, really fast. It's kind of crazy. I speak for both of us when I say that, Adonia and I feel really humbled and amazed by what has happened these past 10 years. Not everything. Many things have not gone the way that we had hoped or would have wanted. But it's despite, our small vision in so many ways and many shortcomings and many things that we had to learn the hard way. With a lot of hard work and dedication as a community, not just Adonia and I think we've come really far. A lot of things have changed for the better. And, yes. And we've had a lot of challenges, but challenges are part of life. Challenges are part of doing things that are meaningful. But our vision to create a thriving, nurturing community has come a long way in 10 years. And we're excited about what the coming years will hold in store for our community. We feel that every sacrifice, every heartache was worth it. And that God could use our small vision to do something bigger than what we thought was possible. We maybe haven't changed the world, but I do think that we've touched many lives. And I got this message from a friend a couple weeks ago. He said, "Hi, Mike and Adonia. You've been an inspiration to me since you started leading Colorado Family Church. I'm grateful for your message Sunday." He would watch one of our recordings. "And happy to hear your commitment for the next 10 years. You're making an impact beyond your community, and I hope to inherit some of your wisdom and experience." So we get all kinds of messages, but we do get encouraging messages like this pretty regularly. So it's hopeful to us that we're making a difference. So I've always been a big believer in the power of vision, the power of purpose. We as human beings are built to have purpose in our lives. We're built to have something that we're striving for, something that excites us and empowers us, and that we're willing to work hard to accomplish, no matter what the sacrifice might be. It could be raising a family. It could be career-oriented. It could be something to do with the environment or science or politics or just many different areas that people are interested in their life. But having some kind of a vision that we can work towards, both individually and as a community, is so important. It's so powerful. And we see time and time again that one person that really catches a vision for their life, like something that they want to accomplish, can change the world, can change the outcome of situations and circumstances in the future. One person who really feels called to do something can make an incredible difference. We've seen it over and over again in our own lives, people we know, and in history. And, I think that sometimes we feel like, oh, my vision has to be so big. It has to be so world level. It's something that our founder, our true father, talked about all the time. Like, you have to have a world level vision. You have to have a cosmic level vision. He talked about things like that. And I think that we've tried. And I think it's been hard. And I think that many times we felt like, oh, if I if I failed or if I didn't meet up my expectations, then I have no value. But I want to, I guess, put out a call to say that God will work with any vision. God will work with any passion that you may have. It's maybe better in some ways if we have like a big world level vision, like we want to change things and like make a difference for everybody in the world. But, and I'm definitely not discouraging you if you're thinking that way. But I want to encourage you, even if you're not thinking that way. Because our lives are important. Our families are important. The things that we get excited about and want to do in our life are important. And God can use those things to change people and to change the world. Anything that we want in life is not, if we wanted it and it was something that came to us easily or naturally, we'd have it already. But the things that we often want in life are things that sometimes we feel like are out of our grasp. They're difficult, and they require us to go through some kind of growth process. And we often hit dry periods or setbacks or discouragement. And we have to ask ourselves, is it really worth it? When we first came here, it was a time of great discouragement in the church, in the movement. Not just here locally, but like all around the world, we were experiencing so many shock waves of, the unexpected passing of our founder, but also like the really devastating, like scandalous falling out of Love and Life Ministries. And there was many people who I don't want to have anything to do with this movement anymore. And a lot of people were just in shock. Just didn't know how to process everything. So we came during that time. And in some ways it was challenging, yes, but many times when we have an inspiration that I want to do something in my life, it's not because the circumstances are ideal. It's not because the timing was perfect. And it never is. So there's this ancient, or I don't even know if it's ancient, but there's a Chinese proverb that I like and I often will remind myself of. It says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. There's never an ideal time to do something that we want to do, that we feel called to do. And anytime there's something we want to do, there's probably 10 or 20 reasons we could think of why I shouldn't. I know it would be difficult. Well, now's not a good time. Well, I don't have enough money. There's all these things. But there's never, I'm not going to say that there's not better times than others to do things, but there's never going to be a perfect time. There's a couple verses from the Bible that are often repeated and shared on this topic. And one is that where there is no vision, the people perish. And the other is commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. So I really relate to a lot of those because I've had times in my life where I just have felt no motivation to do anything, no reason to get out of bed, just go through the daily routines. And it's really tough. It's really tough. Having a vision and working towards it isn't easy either. But feeling like we have no purpose, I really think that God didn't design us human beings to live that way. God made us to have purpose. God made us to feel purpose in our lives. So in that sense, I really resonate with these quotes, with these verses. But also not just to have purpose, but as the second verse says, commit your purposes to God. Tell God, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'd like to do. What do you think? What do I need to do to be able to accomplish this? Because I think that that's also very powerful, inviting God into our purpose, saying, God, I want you to be a part of whatever I'm doing in my life. I want to be connected to what you want to see happen in this world. So we're not sure for us what's going to be happening in the coming years, what things are going to look like. I always think about the Ukrainian church and how they made 21-year plan, and then they made another 21-year plan. And there's a part of me that's thinking, I don't have a plan. I don't have a plan at all. Like, I don't even know what we're going to talk about from week to week sometimes. And there's part of me that's like, oh, I should change things up or whatever. Anyway, here we are 10 years later, still no plan. But that doesn't mean we're not going to create a plan, but somehow we've managed, I guess, without one. But I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You for sure have goals.
We have goals, thank you. We have vision. We don't have a clear plan. Maybe that's the next thing we got to figure out. But we don't know what the coming years has for us. But I think one thing that Adonia and I are so grateful for is that we do feel like with the work that we've done and the work that we've done all together in this community, it does bring God joy. I think it inspires God to see us trying and being sincere and doing the things that we're doing, trying to care for one another, trying to reach out even beyond our community, and doing what we can do. That doesn't mean we can't do more. We shouldn't strive to do more, but I think that we have a very sincere, hardworking, caring community, and that's something I'm incredibly grateful for. But whatever we do strive to do, it won't come easily. So there'll be challenges to overcome, roadblocks to go over. And I want to finish with a couple quotes from our founder. I'll try to keep the message today a little bit short because of the giveaway. The first is that the family is the first unit of co-creatorship with God. Each person must contribute to the establishment of God's kingdom, starting with their family. The foundation of love, unity, and true families is the basis for God's ideal world. Your choice of occupation should not be based on just your talents and interests. Whether you become a firefighter, a farmer, or a soccer player is up to you. But what I am referring to transcends your occupation. What kind of life will you lead as a soccer player? How will you live as a farmer? What is your objective in life? To set your objective is to give meaning to your life, to the life that you will lead. If you are going to be a farmer, then you should set your objective to test new agricultural methods, develop better species of crops, and help eradicate world hunger. If you are going to be a soccer player, then set a meaningful objective, such as to heighten your country's image in the world, or to establish soccer camps that will nurture the dreams of economically deprived children. So, our true Father was always encouraging us to think bigger, right? To think about the world's needs, to think about God's needs. He was such a big thinker, and we feel, I don't know about you, I feel so small. But I do think that we always can encourage one another to think bigger, to incorporate into our lives the things we're already doing, more of God and more of God's purpose, more of giving joy to God. And I think that if we continue to strive to do that, God will open up doorways for us. God will lead us in the right direction. Because I think God wants to work with people like that. And so many people in the world who don't think that way and are okay just to pursue their own purposes. And that's not wrong, but I think God is trying to find the people who want him to be a part of their purpose. So I'll offer a prayer and finish. Dearest Heavenly Parent, thank you for this day. Thank you for everybody who came and has that we can celebrate 10 years together, Heavenly Parent, that we could, I guess in some ways, just the fact that we could go 10 years and not get discouraged and not get downtrodden is meaningful, Heavenly Parent. And I take it as a sign that you've been working with us and through us in the work that we're doing in this church, that there's something life-giving about it, Heavenly Parent. So I thank you. I appreciate, Heavenly Parent, all that you have done to lead us to this point, even the challenges that we had to overcome, that we had to grow through to get to this point. I pray, Heavenly Parent, that we as a community can always really be humble to your purpose, that we know that when you give us blessings, there's hopes that you have, there's expectations that you have for our community, Heavenly Parent, and I pray that we can fulfill those. I pray that we can grow into them, and that we can continue to grow and be a light and a hope to many people in this world, Heavenly Parent. I thank you, and I offer all these things up to you, and I offer these last 10 years to you, and I report this in our names as Blessed Central Families. Amen and Aju. Thank you.